Now that's how you do a rivalry. Ryan Day has suffered his first Big Ten loss ever. What's going on, everybody? Big Ten Ted coming at you here today. Michigan and Ohio State reaction. Wow. Michigan just came out, and what they did right away, they did the whole game. Right? You go down the field. I look back to this game. There's 60 minutes of football. That's a lot of football. But when I look back at this game, it was how the game started. Michigan came out and set the tone and punched Ohio State in the mouth. They did exactly what Oregon did, right? This was a flashback for me to that Oregon game, okay? Because ever since that Oregon game, Ohio State's defense, rush defense, was one of the best in the country. But I touched on it in a previous video that says, well, take that with a grain of salt, put an asterisk on that baby, because they haven't played anybody in terms of rushing offenses in the Big Ten. They faced off against some of the worst rushing offenses in the conference. Well, then they played Michigan State and completely shut them down and demolished them. And maybe people said, okay, they beat a team that could run the ball well. But Michigan, from the outset, they weren't afraid. I tweeted this. They weren't scared of anything. It appeared Michigan State was early in that game last week. But Michigan had zero fear in this football game. They were not intimidated by anything Ohio State had to do. The two P's really hurt the Buckeyes in this one: penalties and pass rush. That Michigan pass rush was amazing all game long. Aiden Hutchinson is a man. David Ojabo is a man. There was a bunch of men on that Michigan defense, a bunch of Michigan men, just the way they like it, in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And no matter what Ohio State did, they couldn't control it. A lot of false start penalties hurt Ohio State, trying to get that extra half a second, trying to get that extra jump to try to defend the pass rush coming off both edges of that offensive line. This is a statement win. We can all get off of Jim Harbaugh's back now for not beating Ohio State all those years. But in my opinion, okay, the pressure isn't off Jim Harbaugh. It's squarely on him. Because now you've beaten Ohio State. You've accomplished the big monkey in the room. You've gotten that out of there. You've gotten it off your back. Now the pressure's really on you. Okay, you've accomplished things inside the conference. Now what you got to go to the playoff, and you got to not get slaughtered in the playoff. So I think the pressure it's on. A lot of people might think it's off, but it is squarely on the shoulders, because now your goal of possibly bringing a national championship to Ann Arbor, Michigan, who would have thought that at the beginning of the year, it's very achievable right now. On the other side of the coin, right, said at the beginning of the video, Ryan Day has lost his first Big Ten conference game. A ridiculous 33-3 mark overall in his first few years as head coach. This is going to be the big bounce back, because these types of games can cause things to flip in the national narrative, and especially recruiting, right? Ohio State was dominating recruiting in the Big Ten. But now, having Michigan beating them, Ohio State not in the Big Ten championship, if Michigan goes on to the playoff, maybe they win a semifinal, these moments, these things can flip the narrative in the East Division, and it just might. It just might. So now, why we mentioned the pressure being back on Jim Harbaugh to prove that this Ohio State game wasn't a fluke. The pressure is also on Ryan Day. How do you bounce back? You haven't faced this kind of adversity. You haven't lost a Big Ten game ever since you've been head coach of the Buckeyes. Now, you got to play in that New Year's Six game, probably. You got to play in that New Year's Six game and not have a letdown. That's what you've got to prove to people, that maybe that was a fluke, and try to bounce back. But wow, what a performance. This is a Jim Harbaugh team. It's exactly the way he wants to play. You look at his teams at Stanford, you look at his good 10-win type of years at Michigan, physicality up front, great defense, good quarterback play. Boy, this changes things. You got the feeling as this game went along that Ohio State was, I don't want to say they were scared, but they just weren't as amped up. They weren't as ready maybe as Michigan. I think Michigan knew what was at stake here. They couldn't lose again. Aiden Hutchinson and those seniors wasn't going to let it happen again. And a absolutely phenomenal performance from this Michigan football team. Michigan's got to go to number 2. okay? Especially if Alabama screws around with Auburn, okay? But I think Michigan right now is the number 2 team in the country. I really do. You look at those other teams. Cincinnati has played some teams close, fumbled around. Alabama's fumbled around a little bit. This might be the best win in college football. The win that Michigan just got, this might be the best win in college football all season long. And it's great. I said it in a previous video. I said Ohio State winning was best for the Big Ten when it came to the college football playoff. And then someone else commented, well, you want to see some back and forth in some rivalries. And that's true. And now that I've seen the game and now that I've seen the result, I'm thinking, maybe Michigan can do something. Right? You look at teams like an Alabama. Alabama, they've screwed around with some teams that they should have beaten by a lot. I mean, look what happened with Florida. Look what happened with LSU. Who says Michigan can't line up at the line of scrimmage and just bowl over Bama? I know that sounds crazy, but why not? Maybe this is the year. Maybe we need to start thinking of Michigan as a national contender once again. And Jim Harbaugh is right at the center of that. 1 year, exactly 1 year after he took a pay cut there in the offseason. What a game. What a big credit to Fox. They made this game. You felt the rivalry sitting at home and watching this. You felt the intensity. You felt the Midwestern cold weather feel. They did a phenomenal job setting the stage and doing a great job. The Big Ten is lucky to have Fox as a TV partner. I'll do a video on that here this offseason. But I want to hear what you guys think about this game. Is Michigan a national championship contender? Now that they've gotten the monkey of Ohio State off their back, can they now achieve a Big Ten championship? Can they achieve a national championship this season? I want to hear your thoughts. And what about the Buckeyes? How will they respond in a likely New Year's Six Bowl? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Follow on Twitter at Big Ten Ted. Subscribe here on YouTube. A lot more content coming up. We'll see you in the next one.